Hello, namaste. It's me, Suzanne Bernert. Today, my guest is Vinay Gupta, who I met twice. And that made it a special connection. And I felt like his book is such an important one. And the book's name is A Rescue in Vienna. I'm very excited to have him with me in my little chit chat. And let's dive right in. Hello, Vinay. How are you?
I'm good, Suzanne. How are you?
I'm fine. Where are you currently? Where are we talking to?
I am in the United States. I'm in Michigan.
Okay, you're in Michigan, and I'm sitting right now near Munich in Germany with my parents. So exciting times. And then we're talking about Vienna and we're talking about India. And
Right.
neither of us is there right now. So what struck me is that the first sentence of the book, nearly the first sentence of the book about, uh, let me tell you a secret. And let me tell you a secret is always a good beginning in a book because you will automatically go like, what is the secret? So I don't know. I think a lot of people don't know that you're not a writer. Is it
That's right.
true?
This is my first
You're
book.
in complete. This is your first book. Congratulations on the first book, and it's quite amazing to read because, as I said, it's a page turner. You're starting with a secret, and you want to know what's the secret. So maybe you can give us a little, like a hint. You can talk about the book as much as you want, but maybe we keep a little secrecy around it as well, no?
Yeah, so the book was really a family memoir. It's mostly about my grandfather, my mother's father, who happened to be in Europe during the beginning of the Second World War, and
Yeah.
ended up rescuing a handful of Jewish families from the Holocaust.
My first question about that is, do you think this is a typical Hindu thing to do?
I don't know. I think there are many factors that go into this. Trying to help people, by and large, is human nature. Most people, when they find people in trouble, want to try and help. I think certainly in a lot of societies, some level of cynicism has crept in, and
Yeah.
I know people will walk past somebody in trouble. We hear enough of those stories in the press on the internet about people not wanting to help. But I think that's unusual. I think, however, going out as what my grandfather did to a country that he was not familiar with, he did not know the language, German, and he was himself sick. He actually was in the hospital in Vienna. And at that point in time, to be able to go out and try to help people, I think requires many characteristics. Not only want to be able, want to help, but you also have to be decisive. You have to be willing to be innovative and creative because the situation was obviously very grim at that time.
Yeah, that was actually my question because just helping somebody like that in such times, we're not talking about a normal year like 2012 or something like this. We're talking about a very dark chapter in the world history. So that's why I was thinking maybe this willingness to jump and help, I've seen more in India. I've been living there for 20 years now, so I've seen that more in, I would say, my country now, my second home, that people just go out of their way without thinking about their own safety. And as you said, different language. I'm puzzled how he knew about the bureaucracy, how to get the visas that he uh, got to get people out, and how did he choose who to take? Was it somebody he met somewhere? Was it somebody who was like, was he searching for people to help, or how did this come about?
Yeah, I am quite certain that, well, I don't know this because this happened 85 years ago, so I
Yes.
don't have first-hand information, but the information that I've been able to collect from my mother and my aunts, and from my conversations with the Voxler family, that was one of the first people that my grandfather helped to get a visa, um, is uh, is that I think he happened to be in the hospital in the Rudolf Hospital in Vienna, and where the Vauxhall family, the couple, was giving birth to their first child, and happened to be in the same hospital. And also subsequently, he happened to be recovering in a sanatorium where he met another Jewish gentleman who had been kicked out of his house and was hiding in the sanatorium. So I think the how he met some of these people was largely a function of him um, talking to a couple of people and realizing that they were in trouble. And then, largely from his point of view, he decided he needed to help. And then, even despite that, he tried to see if there were other people he could help. And he put out an a advertisement in the local newspaper in Vienna to asking for people that would be willing to move to India for a job, because I think he had at some stage understood that the only way for Jewish families to get out of Austria, or what at that time was Greater Germany, was to get an exit visa, and the only way to get an exit visa is if there was some other country that is willing to accept. And India at that time, which was colonized by the British, required to get a visa to come into India, you needed to be able to have a job. And somebody had to provide a financial guarantee. So my grandfather provided that financial guarantee to be able to get those exit visas.
Wow. This is such an amazing thing because the advertisement in the paper should have been in German, right? So that
Yes,
means the people who were actually haunted, the Jews, were actually normal citizens of the places they were from Austria or they were from Germany. So
that's
for
right.
people who
They
don't,
they had been there for generations.
yes, and that's the question that a lot of people might be having about this amazing rescue, because I still can't fathom how the government at that time of Austria gave them an exit visa, knowing exactly what's going on, because I think the government employees must have known what's going on to some extent. Like, don't give an exit visa, don't let anybody go who's a Jew. And still, he made this miracle happen. I'm because I'm a German, so I have encountered a lot of my country's history in movies and books and discussions online. And for me, it is just unbelievable that this was pulled off and that this worked. Some kind
Right.
of jadoo.
Right. It's hard to say because, this was 85 years ago. What I do know is today, as I think you alluded to earlier, Suzanne, if I was a tourist here in 2025 in some country, let's say Portugal or Spain or somewhere, or Japan, and I'm in today's age of the internet and cell phones and instant connectivity, somebody came by on the street and said, "Help me, my government is trying to kill me." How would I react? Right?
You would react, yeah, you're nuts or something, because you would believe whatever is being said in the news, on Twitter, X, and all these places of
Right.
knowledge. No,
Or I would say, "Oh, I don't know. I'm a foreigner. Let me think about it. Maybe I can. Let me see how I can help you." I mean, that's how most people would react. But
yes,
here he was in 1938, where there is no internet. The only way to communicate was through telegram. He didn't know the language. He was sick. He was in the
yes, I
hospital.
was about to come to that. Yeah.
Yeah, and he took some decisive action. He didn't call back to his family and discuss this with them over the phone. There were no phone, you couldn't have that kind of a conversation. He just made a decision.
So how long did it take for him to get the whole arrangement together? You know, the logistics, no? You put this in the paper, you collect people, how many people he can get there, how many visas they will get, where the people who didn't get the opportunity to go with him.
Yeah, good question. I don't know. We don't. I know he was there for many months
Oh,
in Vienna. It was not just a week or 2 weeks. He was there because he had also certainly in the back of his mind that besides his medical issues, he was also interested in trying to get some kind of business help,
Mm.
assistance, buy some machinery, buy some tools, etc. So I know he was there for many months. So, but I don't know how long it took to get these visas processed, but it was many months.
Yeah, I believe that. I definitely believe that because if you watch like in what state Germany was at that time, I mean, the Nuremberg trial came later and other things also happened later, but to some extent, we still don't understand how many people knew what was exactly going on in Germany at what point. When did they leave? Do you know
They
that?
left. There were different time periods, but sometime between the end of 1938 and January of 1939. What I do know, based on Indian government records, is that by January 1939, these 11 people had reached India,
Oh,
and
wow. That's
most
another
of them
point that
came
you just.
from
Uh,
Bombay. Sorry.
oh, okay. No, I just wanted to say that it's a very nice turn that you did about that there is like information online available now that maybe a lot of people don't even know exists.
Yes.
What has been like archived and digitalized, you said
Right.
in
So
in
the
another interview.
yes, yes. So the Indian government had has over the last 10 years or so digitized all the government records going back maybe 150 years. These are old files with handwritten notifications some places, and that's now all available. And so I don't know how much I would have been able to get prior to that, because that would have meant sitting in New Delhi in some dusty basement trying to go through files. Once it was digitized, I was able to type in my grandfather's name, and surprisingly enough, a whole host of files popped up, and then it was a matter of going through each file, and I was to be amazed at the little pieces of information that came out of it.
That is amazing. I was just trying to look up if I can find it that the digitalization of Indian government files was started or took how long, no?
Yes, and I
Did you
think
ever
it's
look that
still
up?
going
Otherwise,
on.
not looking. I think so too, because I know for a fact um, that a friend of mine who's a DOP, a director of photography, is currently shifted from Mumbai to Pune because he is restoring and digitalization is happening, and he's like keeping certain movies alive and certain information alive that would otherwise just disappear because the papers are breaking,
Right,
the
right.
rolls. This all this stuff is okay. It says over 250 years are the public records.
Yeah,
Wow.
amazing.
Can be anybody who's interested in it. You can digitally documents can be easily accessed by researchers, especially if you want to know more about your own history after listening to Vinay and his amazing family story that he had no clue about.
Yeah,
People were thinking in your family, like around you, like you're falling for a trap, or people in your grandfather's family, they were also thinking, "Are what he's all talking?" So only the people who were around him knew what's going on, no?
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I didn't share a lot of this in the early days because I didn't have a whole lot of information. And my aunt, who is now no longer alive, she was born in 1920. So she was a teenager when all this happened. So she had good memory. So she told me a lot of information. And then when I was able to connect with Mr. Woxler in
Mm.
Florida, who also unfortunately passed away last year, he provided a
Oh,
lot of
did he
information.
did he still get to see that the book is coming out?
Well, he knew the book was coming out, but no, unfortunately, the book was published after he passed away. So I was not able to provide, get him to see it in actual print. But nonetheless, a lot of information was given to me by him. He, in fact, interestingly enough, had photographs of my family with him that I had never seen.
Wow, so exciting. That is like
Yeah,
goosebumps moments. You suddenly get a piece of a puzzle that you never knew exists. This is crazy.
right.
Uh, So it was more research than actual writing.
Well, so the research took a few years, certainly.
Yeah.
The writing also, well, initially I had no intentions of writing a book. I was just
Mm.
interested in learning a little bit more about my grandfather. That was it. Most people want to know their own family legacies. So I was really largely interested in learning more about my family and specifically my grandfather. And once I was able to piece all this information and these stories together, I think I felt, boy, this would be a book worth writing because it's a story that people should know about. And because I'm not a writer, my first process, which also must have gone on for maybe a year, more than a year, was see if I could interest a known writer to write the story. And when I realized that no, by and large, people didn't want to write somebody else's story, I decided to write the book myself. So I took a few courses on creative writing. I bought some books about how to write. I taught myself the process to write. And then had to pick a genre. So this book is what's called creative nonfiction. It is nonfiction. I mean, it's all a true story. Everything in the book is true. The names are true. I've not used any fake names. The locations are all, from what I understand, are the actual locations. I have myself not faked anything, but it is written in a storytelling style. It's not
Okay.
written. So I had to first pick a genre on what to write. I learned about the different styles of writing, and yeah, the writing also took more than a year.
What happened to your normal jobs? Because this is a tremendous amount of time to invest into a story, a non-fictional story.
Yeah, but when you have passion, when you really get into something, you find the time.
Yeah,
Uh,
the excitement about this I saw on two occasions with you. This is definitely something that makes you glow from the inside and you makes you very enthusiastic. And I was honored that I got to see that because we actually were somewhere else. We were thinking about skipping your event because we drove directly from the airport to the Austrian embassy
yes.
where you showcased the book. So we were also so intrigued by it that it was like, doesn't matter if I'm tired or hungry or anything, we go there. So we directly came and we got I just got the end of it,
Yeah, no,
just the
I
end of
really
the
appreciate
representation.
that you and Arjun were able to make the time to come to the embassy. I know you were coming straight from the airport, so I
Mm.
really appreciate you making the time. And
Now, I want to
subsequently, I
just
know
say,
we met for lunch, and it was great.
yeah, and reminisce it about the old days of Delhi. I remember that a lot.
Yeah.
And so the whole thing, if anybody is interested in this kind of a history, into a story that a lot of people didn't know existed, a lot of people were not prepared for it, and maybe there were people also doubting the story.
Well, when you say people, I initially started by doubting the story myself
Mm.
because
Wow.
it all started by looking at some of these old family photographs, and most of the Europeans in that photograph I thought would have been British because at that
Yeah,
time
makes sense.
India was colonized by the British. So when my aunt said, "No, no, no, these are Jewish families that my grandfather had rescued," I was naturally skeptical. I said, "That
Mm.
just seems so far fetched." So, to a large
Yeah.
extent, me digging into this was also because I started off by being skeptical about it.
Wow. Yeah, makes sense as well because this is the only case that we know about, unless somebody suddenly wakes up and starts thinking about some story,
Right,
like why was my great grandfather or my great mother, why were they in that country,
right, right.
because if somebody must have done that. But this is like the only known case except for this king, I think, who got people. But I'm not so quite sure about it. I'm not so
Yes,
versed.
I've heard that, and I mentioned that in the book. The only difference is he didn't go to Europe. He sat,
No, you didn't.
uh, he was in India. He didn't have to risk anything because he was
Yeah.
asked by the Polish consulate general to
Okay.
help. And it wasn't just Jewish families. It was I don't know, maybe 100 children that were on a train trying to get out of Russia, get out
Hmm.
of the Second World War zone in Russia. So slightly different story.
Yeah. Nearly completely different story, but there are people who always compare your two stories, these two stories with each other. And I have to say that that assessment is completely wrong because that's one story, completely different country coming from there and helping. What's great. I'm not saying that, but
Yes.
your grandfather and having these ailments himself, I know how difficult it is to function. I have a hard time shooting when I have a fever, and that's like nothing. You just have a cold, and you can't remember your lines, you can't do this and that. And he's actually going out and maybe even risking his life because I don't know how the government at that time would have reacted to seeing that this is a scam to get people out.
Right. Right.
Yeah, so that's it's amazing story. Now we come to a little sadder part. How long were they able to stay in India because of the British?
Yes. So, for instance, the Voxler family came in early 1939 and they left in 1947 when India got independence and the partition happened. Because at that time, the Voxler family was living in Karachi. Um,
Oh,
and and but as you mentioned, the sadder part is they stayed with my grandfather for maybe a little less than 2 years, and then they were put in an internment camp. That's the tragedy of it all, is that they reached India thinking finally they would be free and away from the
Nazis.
pogroms that the Nazi party was conducting in Europe, and instead the British put them in a camp. And what's even worse, there were other Germans with Nazi sympathizers who were in the same camp with them.
That's hard.
Right.
That's hard.
And they were in that camp, for maybe 3, 4 years
With children, huh?
with children. Exactly. Alex Woxler was a baby when he was in that camp. He has photographs of being in that camp. That camp was just outside of Pune.
Oh, okay. That's a whole chunk of history. I don't think the average Indian knows. The whoever.
Correct.
This is an amazing fact to see that. I
Right.
mean, you read really not about it, and there are a lot of people in India who are still very uneducated about the Second World War and yeah, Hitler and not Jews. And
Right.
when I shifted here, I had a lot of like people greeting me with that greeting that I'm not going to say now. And I had a lot of people praising him for the autobahn and for the people. And because if you, there were people who didn't know what's happening inside
Mm.
Germany, like my grandparents, because they lived in the countryside, what is now Poland. So they had no clue.
Right.
They started hearing about it much later. And then they were like, this is impossible because you're living in a country, you identify yourself. And then that stuff happens. So very, very scary thing. So how can I expect somebody to know about it in India as well? So I think this book is interesting, and I will hope that more people will read it, and it will not be fringe, just like for a selected
Yes.
section of people, because it will widen your horizon. Like it must be a revelation for you as well, and all the connections that you might be having to Jews now, and a whole different life that you're having
Right.
after the book. I think
Right. Yeah.
this kind of like moments that define the future, and you don't even know it.
That's
You're just
correct.
doing your thing, you're just reading, or you're doing an interview, or you're just giving in. You're writing this amazing book, and then suddenly it's like this. Wow, where's this coming from? I'm very happy. I'm very happy you invested so much time. I hope your family is appreciating it because this is quite the the time you gave to this project. Because
Yeah, it was.
what is it to you, no? Mm,
It was actually, I enjoyed the process thoroughly, and it I would have been quite happy just learning more about my grandfather. So the fact that the book got published by a well-known publisher, and then it got has been picked up by other news sources, whether BBC or the TV or whatever, is very
mm.
gratifying.
I would
And
love for you to go to Israel after this, that they invite you and you get to see the country. I
yeah,
think that would be a very nice thing. Are you
yes.
planning a second book? Are you bug have the bug bitten you now? The writing bug that you
Well,
say, okay, now I have this nonfiction, now I do a fiction. Because of all these encounters, I have all these ideas for new books.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, not right now, not yet. The bug hasn't
Mm.
bitten me deep enough to consider a second book. Not yet.
Call yourself lucky. I got bitten by the bug for acting at the age of 4, and I'm still like, I can't do anything else. So
No, it's
except
great.
doing
It's
it.
always good to have a passion.
Yeah, a passion that completely absorbs you. And then YouTube is a good outlet for me to just have that when I'm not working. Then I can interview the people and interest me. So
Yeah.
I'm not, this is not specialized. I'm not in a special corner that I'm like with politicians or with, I have everybody. I had a actress friend of mine. I had somebody who is completely into AI. I had a girl who's riding a bicycle 50,000 kilometers all the way from France to India for
Hmm.
safe soil. So there's so many interesting stories, and that's basically my target. That I'm bringing all these people together, and you have a bouquet of different stories. You don't have that one. You have one YouTuber. He's known for this thing, and he's doing only this thing. So
Right.
I'm all over the place.
That's great.
So yeah, thank you for your time. Is there anything else you want to add that I missed out, and you feel like, oh, I wanted to see this for so long in interviews, and nobody gave me the chance. So I give the floor to you if you want to add something here.
No, no, no. I think you've covered it. I just want to say I'm really happy that you included me in your podcast. I hope people see it. I do believe this is a story that is worth knowing about, and I think Indians should feel proud. This is a completely unknown facet of Indian history that I think is necessary for people to learn about.
I'm very happy that you gave this Sunday morning to me, and I'm excited. And if people are interested in a deep dive with Vinay, please just leave that in the comment section because I feel like we just touched the surface, just to give you that interesting angle that I talked about, the secret, what I talked about in the beginning. And thank you for being with me. Have a great Sunday, the rest of it. We are wrapping up. Our Sunday is getting over,
Yes.
and it's going to rain again here. I've never had such a wet July in Germany. I'm kind of like, what the heck is going on? But also a good time to sit down and read a book.
Yes.
So thank you. And thank you for talking about a rescue in Vienna. And see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Suzanne. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye. Thanks to the audience for watching as well. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and see you next time.